All right, our next presenter, please welcome to the stage, GAMA Therapeutics.
Thank you. My name is George Tegos, and I'm the head of research and development of GAMA Therapeutics. GAMA is advancing a light-based sterilization platform for disinfection. We live at the end of an era. For approximately 100 years, antibiotics saved countless lives of patients with otherwise untreatable infections. In the last 20 years, resistance is surging. Antibiotic-resistant superbugs are routinely reported in the news and the media. In 2050, the post-antibiotic era will count 10 million deaths from antimicrobial resistance, more than the people dying from cancer today, and way more than the current population of Massachusetts. 80% of infections are attributed to biofilms, microbial communities that thriving in the surfaces of catheters, central lines, and needless connectors. Human errors and factors and cleaning and inappropriate cleaning protocols spread infections throughout healthcare facilities. This year, 25,000 Americans will die from a healthcare-acquired infection, and more than 250,000 will face the grave consequences of a central line-associated healthcare infection, eclampsia, as it's called. So the standard of care is alcohol disinfection and manual removal of the catheter via lure connections and antibiotic lock solutions. This shares fundamental limitations. They're highly susceptible to human error. Lock solutions cause irritations. They require complex protocols, and they're leading to microbial resistance. Our solution is a rapid, optoelectrical point-of-care self-sterilized device that eliminates biofilms 100 times more effectively than the current standard of care. It is developed under a Department of Defense contract for military specifications. It operates with a multi-wavelength LED light that selectively targets resistant populations and destroys virulence factors, has a broad therapeutic window, and operates with simplified protocols. This solution addresses the $45 billion of market of healthcare-acquired infections, where Baxter, J&J, Boston Scientific are the key players. But more importantly, our solution will reduce the cost of the $46,000 of case of eclampsia that it's no longer reimbursed from Medicare. And most importantly, it will provide a solution, an infection prevention solution for battlefield combatants and emergency and first responders that they don't have normal disinfection protocols in the field, thus leading in higher levels of infections. And in addition to that, it will probably support military service members, veterans, and their families. Our base a single-use disposable component that it will couple with our device will allow access to the global civilian market. Our base product, the military product, it's offered inexpensively. Our consumable product, it actually will actually sail with higher margins, leading thus in higher projected revenues over a period of 5 years. We have a very strong team. From our chairman of the board, David Gershow, is a global entrepreneur, investor, and engineer. Our chief operating and financial officers, Robert Zelikas and Bill Burke, seasoned business professionals. Our strategic advisor, Dwayne Sword, is a commercialization champion. GAMA operates a lab of 2,000 square feet in the Mansfield Bioincubator and has established working relationship with biomedical and clinical partnerships at Harvard Medical School, Mass General Hospital, and Beth Israel, also Brown Alpert infectious disease, and a global innovation ecosystem for light-based interventions. We have already secured $2 million coming from grants, and 1.3 comes from grants and private funding, where capital partnership will enhance our DoD contract. And we're seeking funds, obviously, to design the consumable component, conduct the FDA enabling studies, obtain the 510K clearance and CE marking in European Union, and patent hedging. That's okay. I'm done. Thank you.
All right, judges.
All right, so one thing I was trying to figure out was what does the product, I mean, I know what the product does, but how does it work? Because I'm familiar with something similar in M2D2, but I've seen before. But, you know, so, I mean, yeah, what are you actually doing? What's the process?
Well, you have multi-wavelength light that actually inactivates pathogens, bacteria. So you have two different light wavelengths that actually inactivate bacteria.
But, I mean, how are you actually using it in a hospital environment?
So we're in the process of developing a prototype for this one. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about that. We're developing a prototype. I mean, we're not in the status of using it in the hospital. We're developing a prototype through a DoD contract, where actually it will be eventually applied in a hospital environment. We're not ready. We're not there yet. We're developing it for military specifications. So we're still on a Department of Defense contract that actually it will be developed for these military specifications. The commercial application is not, you know, in the forefront right now, but that's why we're, you know, seeking partnerships and money to enhance it.
Just to follow up on the way the product works, could you explain the disposable part of it? That wasn't quite clear.
This is what we don't have ready yet. We have already applied for funding. We're developing a system that actually will be act like, for example, like a razor and a blade, more or less, to the catheter. And this is something that we're designing right now. We don't have it ready. We have the military component ready.
So your presentation focused on the hospital market because that's one that's easy for all of us to wrap our heads around. It made a lot of sense. I think all of us have seen a lot of presentations about hospital-borne illnesses and how terrible it is and how ineffective most of the solutions are. But it looks like it's the military application that's your beachhead, no pun intended. So could you tell us more about what is the special circumstances that military are under that make them more inclined to use your product? You know, what is their special circumstance that makes it worse?
I mean, it's pretty obvious, at least in the last 20 years, you know, from all the operations in Middle East. It's not a generic observation about the problem with infections. I mean, at least 3,000 veterans died in VA hospitals from secondary infections. Not mentioning, you know, the problem that you have tremendous limitations in the healthcare facilities in the battlefield or whenever somebody is deployed, including also the first responders. So this is a niche, but it's not. This is actually the big. We are aiming there because this is where we're having. This is what we're developing through the DoD contract. It's obvious, but our ultimate goal is to go to the commercial market. I mean, to the civilian market. But it requires that disposable component. That this is where we're currently in. And this is where we're seeking partnerships. We're using this leverage that we have. We have already applied for approximately $12 million for SBIR funding and NIH and other DoD grants in order to develop this disposable component. And we're leaning towards this direction. This is part of you know, our ultimate goal, one way or another. Yes.
Could you share a little bit about the final deliverable that you have on your SBIR contract? Like, what is your end state for that contract?
I think it's the manufacturing the component according to the specifications that are, you know, required by DoD.
Okay, and have you established a manufacturing plan yet?
Oh, this is where we are. For us, in the next 4 months, we will end up we'll end up finalizing that piece. And after this period of time, I think that it's going to kick off the manufacturing.
Okay, I'm just curious, have you done any cost studies for this particular product I'm sure for the defense there's clearly a value prop, but have you done any studies in the commercial space for product costing?
This is actually, you know, this is part also of all the applications that we have in place. And actually this is something that we're working on.
Okay, thank you.
One more. All right, so, you're the head of R&D.
Yes,
I noticed that you have a COO and a CFO. I didn't see a CEO. Who's actually running the company?
So we have, there is a board. Actually, some of our board members are here in the audience, and definitely we have a number of other participants that I didn't mention, and I think that the company is run by our board, one way or another.
Good deal.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Good job. Good work. Thank you, George.